everyone. I am Sean Scott. I'm the VP of Success here at PlexTrac, and I am here along with my good friend Landon Reese to really just take a walk down memory lane. 2022 has been an amazing year. We've delivered more new features and value for our clients than ever before. And quite frankly, Landon, you'd probably agree that they've been coming so fast and furious that even us ourselves haven't had an opportunity to take a moment and just reflect upon everything that we've done in this last year.
Yeah, absolutely, Sean. I've been thinking about this webinar and getting prepared for it, and it's just been so exciting to go back and look at all that we've added for our customers. We have been heads down pushing for value this whole year, and when you do that, you just really think about the next tree, and it's great to think about the whole forest and what we've been delivering for folks. So I'm really excited to be here today. For those who don't know me, I'm Landon Reese, VP of Product here at PlexTrac, and I'm excited to here to be able to add some context into why we did the things we did.
Awesome. Well, Landon, we have got a ton to get through and not a lot of time. So I'm going to go ahead and begin walking through these items that we've got. So with no further ado, all right, here we go. All right. While we're here, and I know we might be going a little bit out of order, Landon, but the first thing that I think a lot of our long-term users are going to notice is just what you see upon login. Landon, you want to take a moment and just kind of talk to us about these amazing little cards that we've got in the top here?
Yeah, internally we like to call this the actionable dashboard. And so when you land in PlexTrack now, we help you figure out where you need to go next. So right on top of the screen is where you were before. So if you were right in the middle of writing a report or updating specific findings, the most recently viewed reports are right up there at top for you to dive into.
Yeah, it's absolutely just a 15-20 second time saver, but it makes it just really easy to find what it is that you're looking for. This has just been one of those wonderful, as we call, surprise and delight features that, not the sort of thing that people are constantly chiming for, but it just helps to meet our overall mission of improving workflow efficiency. The other neat thing is if you're responsible for remediation and you've been assigned findings, those are here as well. This is a brand new environment we spun up for this event. Don't have any of that, but you'll see that this list is going to populate as we continue through our demonstration here today. But let's go ahead and kind of pop into those major features. Prior to 2022, we've always had an amazing write-ups database, and it was one of the most valuable features of PlexTrac. We know that over time, the value grows because people continue to curate that, grows larger and larger, and there's less work that has to be done. However, one thing that we've been asked for a long time from our clients is it's great that I can reuse my write-ups, but there's a lot of narrative sections, those things that you put up there at the beginning of the report that I don't want to have to recreate each time either. And that maybe they're not standard. It's not the same language each time in a report. And so we have added an incredible new capability called the content library. And if we were to click into our content library, you see that you've got the write-ups database as it's always been, but you've got this new feature called narratives database. You've also got a new one called runbooks database, but we're going to save that for a future event. That's a coming soon attraction. If I click into I'm going to hold off on getting into the narratives database because we've actually done some work that impacts the write-ups database as well. And so Landon, kind of talk to me a little bit about what we've got going on here with these repositories.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you jump into the write-ups database today, you land in a new page called the repository page. This is where you can create a collection of write-ups for your specific team. So let's say that you are doing things for IR, or let's say you're doing things for pen testing for a web app, and then you also doing pen testing for your network, and you just want to slightly adjust your findings or keep them grouped or separate your users so that they only see what they need to. You can do that within our repository capability. It's a new pattern that you're going to see us deliver across all of our content library types now, too.
Yeah,
So the
and I
goal here is all your team can work within PlexTrac and see just what they need to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we added to this, which has really been just amazingly received is we've added a permission structure, especially for larger teams where you don't necessarily want to have your junior testers, your junior assessors monkeying with, the canonical language that you want to use when reporting on a specific vulnerability. You can do that now. We've given you 3 classes here. And open one is really, it's what you would expect. It's the least restrictive. Anyone who has edit capabilities can commit or use those write-ups from an open repository. You've got manage, more restrictive, where everyone can use these, but only certain people that have been specified can actually edit the content of this. And then you've got your most restrictive private, where even the ability to use these write-ups can be restricted to specific users. So it's really a great way of managing this. I kept this one, all 3 of these is open. But here's what's another really interesting thing. One of the things, Landon, I know that your product managers share a lot is I'd love to be able to just lift and shift content, copy content, right? I don't want to, if I want to have different versions of a write-up, I don't want to have to copy and paste that stuff. So I'm going to click, maybe talk me through some of these bulk actions that we've got available here.
Well, why don't you select a few and then we can just walk through. So one of the things that you might have seen and loved near and dear, we heard it a lot from within the reports and our findings, is the ability to do more bulk actions, right? I want to do more things to all my findings at once. And these were the top items that came from our customers when we were building out these repositories that we added. So now you can copy write-ups to another repository, as Sean was alluding to right here, in just a few clicks of a button. The other, obviously, there's copy, there's move, there was adding tags, and then obviously the delete button, the delete.
Yeah, absolutely. And so some of the interesting use cases you can think about how you might use these bulk actions. Oftentimes you'll have different maturity levels of end users, right? You want to tailor what those items are, or maybe there's just variations of different common findings that, you want to start out with overall TLS issues, but then you want to drill in to the specific issue you found. So you can start kind of with some baseline understanding and then just further tailor that. So if I go back actually now to my list of repositories, you'll see that we've now populated, we've copied some things into the AppSec findings, we've moved some things into incident response. And this is some other awesome use cases for this is, a lot of times you'll be creating a finding from scratch and I know that I'm going to want to use this again, right? But I'm in the middle of a report. So, we've always had the ability of pushing things from your report to the write-ups database. But now if you can do something like use this concept of a private repository, so you've got a safe place where you can push this data and that people won't be able to use it again until you have an opportunity to sanitize it, to gussy it up, make sure that it truly is generic and that you're not spilling any data that you don't want to spill. So really excited about that. But you mentioned standardizing things, Landon, and so as we move into our newest library, our newest reusable content, our narratives database, notice that the format is the exact same. If you know how to use repositories in your write-ups, you know how to use them in narratives. But what are the narratives here, right? So, for example, we give you a little sample repository, to give you some ideas and use cases on things that you might want to save as reusable content, right? So one of the things that we see in probably about maybe a third of the security reports we see, whether that's honestly a security, a risk assessment, or even a technical test, is a narrative section that'll talk about those programmatic level deficiencies. Maybe I detected 5 different instances of out of life cycle software in the environment. Those are all problems, but they're really symptoms of a greater programmatic problem that you don't have a good end of life program in your environment, right? And so oftentimes that content can be very reusable. If you've got those programmatic level deficiencies like limited detection capabilities, right? you can reuse these over and over. And by combining them with things like our short codes, you can even customize these a little bit very easily in an automated fashion. Now, talk to me, Landon, about, what's this new thing that we see down here that we've never had on narratives before?
I think that's there because it might be exciting for you and your team too. So I see how you're playing there, Sean. We use tags within our mechanism to allow us to be able to filter, to be able to look, and then to be able to ultimately be able to pull specific things into our reports through our exporting process. And so now you can also tag the narratives to allow for all those same capabilities and use cases you did before. So again, that's a lot about when I think about that kind of capability and being able to use this the way that you know how to use the write-ups database. That's exactly what we mean. We're trying to have that feature parity across our libraries.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just show how really cool this could be. If you're one of those clients that has a section like key programmatic deficiencies or key strengths, people like to give the attaboys, slap them on the back, tell them how great they are before you dump everything on them. But now I can simply go and add narratives from my database. And notice that I've got these filters. I can select by repository. I can say, hey, just show me all the things in my key weaknesses repository, or I can simply filter based upon tag. Right. And so now, great, I've filtered this down. Perhaps limited detection capabilities is a key weakness they have. And we're off to the races. We've got that already brought in. We can modify it as need be. But just once again, another time-saving technique. It's going to save you time, not just on your tester, but on your QA function, right? If you've got approved language that's already been through that process, it's just going to save time on both sides of the equation. All right. That is the amazing work that we have done with our write-ups. We're pretty excited and our narratives DB. And once again, in a future episode, we'll talk to you about what you previewed there when you saw the runbooks DB. We've focused a lot on improving the ability to reuse content that already exists in the platform. But without a doubt, if we've spent more time in one area of the platform than any other, what's that been this year, Landon?
Oh, are you going to say, I'm hoping you're thinking integrations. Are we aligned here?
We are absolutely 100% aligned, right? And just given the time, we're not even going to have an opportunity to talk about all the things that we've done. But if you go into your account admin area in PlexTrac and you go to your integrations, you can see all of the amazing logos that are on here that weren't here at the beginning of the year. Cobalt is new, EdgeScan is new, HackerOne, Sneak. Those are all net new this year. And we have significantly enhanced our Jira parser. And so, the Jira integration. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, our Jira integration. So I'm actually going to start there because it's a little bit different, right? That's an integration to a ticketing system versus an integration to bring in data from another platform. One thing I failed to mention is that, Landon, what's different about these integrations than the ones I would see when I'm importing a static result and results from the report?
These are live. These are API level integrations. So it's not on just the dynamic. It's just not on the pull of a file import. This is something that's sitting there and is getting updated on a cadence. They kind of depends on which one you're using on how that cadence is for then you to actually just automatically get pulled into a report. So that's the main difference with these API integrations. And so as you're getting ready to go into Jira, maybe I'll talk a little bit about the context and give some share into why we went in and implemented this. I'm a product guy. I come from the development side of the house, so please don't get angry with me. I know that I'm sometimes the one you guys have to go convince to move the needle on the security side. But what we really did is we leveraged what we knew about how development needs to be spoke to and the differences in their workflow versus the workflow that we all have to live within from a security side, and tried to bridge that gap. And so we provided the customizations needed to be able to fit within development partners ecosystem, because if you can do that, then we can make change and we can continue to improve the security posture of your guys' businesses. So Sean's going to walk through what that looks like, but that was really the intent of this new integration and the workflow we built.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a Jira integration probably for close to 3 years now with PlexTrac, and it's been one of our more popular features, especially with our enterprise users. Great, you found what needs fixing. Let's push it into the ticketing system of record that's already in use in the enterprise. However, it was a little bit basic. We're pushing the data from PlexTrac, and we didn't necessarily have that tight bi-directional connectivity. And we also didn't really have the support for the customizations that a lot of people do in their Jira projects. We're Jira shop ourselves, and we have a lot of different customized forms. And so quite frankly, this is helping us as well as helping our clients. But what's new and different? Obviously, the UI has been reskinned, but once you actually have your configuration set, if we go into select the projects, you will get a list of all of the various projects that you have credentials for as part of, or access to as part of the credentials that you provide. So you can pick which ones you like from there. Maybe you don't want to allow them to integrate to all of your projects, but here's where the real magic happens. So Landon, I'm going to let you take it away and just talk about the amazing work that we have done here.
Oh, yeah. So proud of the teams who've been working on this part, but we have made this completely customizable and configurable. And so the finding fields that you have within PlexTrac, you can map to where you need them to be within your Jira side, not only at the task or story level, but also at the epic level too. And even to the point where if you're within like a field that has a specific set of sub fields related to it. So like Sean, you see that like status one, you can actually map what open means to the status in Jira. So if you want it to be that your open means to do, right, you can simply map that to it, or close means done, in progress to in progress. As you all know, you might have more sub statuses, more statuses on the Jira side that you want to be able to map to. You can do that, right, to make sure things are in. Like, so see how Sean's mapping closed to canceled there. You can have that there too. So now that you even have them joined, so you can have that combined view. And that's what I mean by the language that you need to use, the statuses that you need to use to better report from the security perspective. You can make sure get mapped appropriately to what it means from the development perspective as well.
And what's really cool, Annan, is this canceled. This isn't just an arbitrary value. This is an actual status that exists inside of the epic issue type in this test project that we've created. So when we set up the integration, once we determine which of these projects that we want to map to, we're grabbing all of the data for the structure of what those forms look like and what values can be placed there. And we're turning those into actual destinations for your PlexTrac data. But what's up with these little funky arrows, Landon?
So we even have different sync types as well. And so right now you have it set as a bidirectional sync, but on the left there, you have a sync that is PlexTrac to Jira continuous, Jira to PlexTrac continuous, and then a one-time push to Jira, right? And so we actually allow you to set like the actual relationship and how you want that synchronization to be too. So when I say customize, I truly mean customize. And we're really excited by it.
Yeah, just really just an amazing advancement in our Jira functionality. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit now about some of those API integrations that we have added. And I don't have them all plumbed in here today, but I do have a few of those. And so I'm going to go ahead and pop into one of my trusty clients here, Acme Coyote. And we'll begin with, we'll use integrations for the win as our, seems fitting for our target report. So how do I get this data in? Well, if you have your integrations configured and connected, you're going to get a new selection in your dropdown here, right? And you'll notice that we've still got the standard stuff, write-ups database from scratch, file imports, but now we have this integrations tab. And depending upon which integrations that you have configured, you'll get those various different dropdowns that allow you to select one. I'm going to select HackerOne. Once I do that, I am brought to the list of all of the findings that I have access to based upon the credentials that I provided when configuring this integration. I've got a whole series of filters here that I can use to find the data that I need to bring it into a report, right? So I can simply just find what I'm looking for and continue with those findings. And much like our static parsers, we understand how important tagging is to a lot of our clients. And so you can even tag these with whatever you would like. Perhaps this is all from, application, and I can't tag, but you get the idea, application Bravo, whatever it may be, Brave, Bravo, I can't type, doesn't matter, right? So we can add those tags and boom, there they are. They're in our report. No requirement to export data into some sort of static file, then bring it in. What's really awesome is sometimes those schemas change, so this gives us a much more stable, when you're at the API level, deprecation of API endpoints is a pretty big deal. And so this is good. In addition to just saving you some time, this is going to ensure a good, solid, stable connection between you and your chosen integration. Anything that you might want to chat on?
Well, I think one of the most things that excites me the most, and you'll hear this a lot from me, is that if you know how to import from one API integration, you know how to import from all API integrations. So that experience that you saw with the left-hand ability to filter and sort, along with the picker in terms of being able to select which findings came in, that is consistent across all of the integrations that we deliver. Now, sometimes the search fields might change a little bit because we want to be we want to expose what's available from specific tools, but our goal here is to try and make that simpler for you all. We know there's a lot that's going on from the tool and all the different tools that you have to manage and support. We're trying to help build that common language from wherever you're pulling it, so you can get to the real security work.
Awesome. Well, we've done a lot with our API integrations, but we haven't stood still when it comes to our static parsers, because there's some things that just doesn't make sense to integrate with from an API level, right? Maybe they just don't even have an open API that we can touch. So we continue to add more options to our static parsers. And by the way, if you've been away from PlexTrac for a while, you might notice that the flow here has changed. We've made this much more intuitive, giving you a lot more options. But things that are new that you may not have seen before. CSV, this is actually the most loved new parser internally at PlexTrac, because it really is the Swiss Army knife secret decoder ring, right? Maybe you've got a tool that you built. That's pretty common in this industry, and maybe not you personally, maybe it's something that your organization has built. Maybe it's a lesser known tool that, it's not the sort of thing that is widely adopted and probably we're not going to build a static parser for directly into our platform. That's okay. If you can get your data into a CSV now, we've got a schema that you can import any data now as a finding from a CSV. And this has just been a game changer, and it works awesome out of the box. With a single little simple one-line PowerShell command, you can reorder any CSV to match our schema. So it really is just extremely powerful. This has only been on the streets for how long, Landon? A couple months now?
Oh, yeah, a couple months at most, but we're really excited by it.
Yeah, and we've already got people who are just doing amazing things. We've got some people who are in the GRC space that prefer to perform their risk assessments in a traditional Excel spreadsheet. I get it, ease of navigation, right? There are definite advantages in certain frameworks to just using old school spreadsheets, right? But
or let alone they may not have network access, right?
Yeah, exactly. We've got some clients that do some work in remote environments that just don't have the connectivity back to their PlexTrac server, but they can whip out an Excel sheet. So we've got some clients that have written scripts that just take a .xlxs. I always get those last two letters confused. An Excel file, right? And just convert it to a CSV and boom, now they can pull whatever that data is from a spreadsheet directly into PlexTrac as findings. We've also got this new parser, Invicti. As you may have heard, NetSparker was acquired, and as part of that, they rebranded as Invicti, but they also changed things. So we are still supporting the legacy NetSparker. That's still out there. There's desktop versions, but we are also supporting the new Invicti parser as well. We've got HCL app scan. I think that came in new and early in the year. So just lots and lots of new features. If there's things that you would like to see that you don't see here, pop over to our ideas portal, purple.ideas.plextrac.io. Let us know what you're interested in seeing. Upvote, what your friends put there. Take a look at what other people have suggested. There's a lot of good ideas out there. So
Yeah, and my team is actively looking at that. That really helps guide where we're trying to head. We want to listen to you guys, and don't be surprised if you get a PM responding to ask for a little bit more information.
Outstanding. So there's also some just basic usability things that we really that our users that had identified that they would like to see. So one nifty thing is, we've always had this ability where I can multi-select, and that's great. And I can select all, right? But selecting all was limited to what's on the page. And so now you can see that I have selected 144 items, which is actually all I have in this report. If I were to select to only have 50 per page, how does that behavior differ? Well, now I've got 50 items selected, right? And so if I select all 144 findings, so the default behavior is what it's always been. We haven't moved the cheese on you. You can still just select everything on the page, and I've selected my 50, but I've also got this new nifty option to select everything that exists inside of the report. And what do I have as far as bulk actions that I have available to me? All these, incredibly useful things. Once again, to Landon's point of wanting to increase your ability to just move data faster, right? So really excited about something just as simple as that, just something that we love to see. Landon, one thing that I skipped over that I wanted to chat about before was what we have done for CVSS scoring.
As Sean's opening up the findings so we can go into it, we added a CVSS 3.1 calculator. Pardon me for not getting the update, the version right. But when you pop in here, you guys can actually change all of the different attributes within the CVSS scoring framework, and then we'll automatically calculate the score. We also have the vector still, so if you want to use the vector, you can, and we added temporal and environmental scoring as well, so you can adjust that to have it be within your scoring methodology. All of that's within here to get your calculator. You still have your vector, and oh, by the way, we've updated the parser so that it will update this score in vector as well. And so now that's all baked right within our platform. We had heard that loud and clear from our customers that they would like to have this, and it's here.
I have created the mother of all vector strings.
Yeah, look at that. Holy smokes.
But of note, nothing is required if you're going to use this other than to provide the base scoring, right?
Yep.
So we don't make you sit here and take advantage of every single attribute. But you'll note two things happened. Number one, we've already got the score populated here, and we have mapped the severity based upon the standard first.org scale for mapping of CVSS 3.12 severities. I can override that, right? If I don't want to, we want to use that mapping. I do get a little warning here, which I think is a good thing, right? And that then allows us to change this to medium. So super excited. We're still importing, your CVSS scores from your standard scanners and your parsers and things like that. But the good news is that if you need to do your manual scanning, you don't need to go to an external calculator anymore. It's all just built in here for you. Really cool stuff. Now, Landon, one thing that users might notice when they log into PlexTrac, especially about now, is a little pop-up for a little widget that we've got here we didn't used to have. So what is this?
Yeah, really, I'm excited about this. For every user, they can customize the columns they see within their findings table here. And we know loud and clear that each of you might have specific things that help you in your workflow that's going to be different than others. And so we have a list. So if you want it simpler or if you want it more complex, That's up to you. You can add them and then they'll show up and they'll persist for you as a user on your report findings.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's really we love about this feature is over time, people keep on asking for us to be able to display more and more attributes. Unfortunately, the screen can only be so wide, right?
Yeah.
And so this really opens up, it unblocks us. It gives us the ability to listen with a little, with a little more, how would you say, a little more hope when people tell us
Yeah.
about new attributes that they want to see, because we're not limited anymore by the real estate we have available. We can just give you those options and you can see what it is you want to see.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we talk a lot about, Sean, and we at PlexTrac is we want to help you guys do what you need to do, right? And so sometimes that means giving you guys options. Of course, we want to help get folks started, but we want to allow you to customize where you need to. And so this is just one of the ways that we can do that.
And some other things that we really have spent a lot of time on this year is our work with affected assets. And one of the, we've done so much here, I don't even know where to begin. So I'm just going to dive right on in. Heading on into this finding, we'll click over into the affected assets column. And you can see that we have completely redesigned the layout of this column or of this page. We've got all of your port service data, the location, the URL, if it is something that's new, criticality of the asset, all these things are now available for you. But what we've really done a lot of work on is your ability to quickly gather assets. And just to make sure that we've got a nice clean experience to show what we're going to do, I'm going to create a new asset from scratch. A new finding from scratch that doesn't have anything associated with it, so that we've just got a better ability to demonstrate that. I'm going to go ahead and just give this a severity and the minimum amount of data to create the finding. That kicks in, by the way, your autosave, so I've never got to click that save button again. And I'm going to click over to my affected asset. And so we've always had the ability of creating a new asset or adding an existing asset. But we've added two really neat features this year. Number one is we've got the ability, if you've got your assets in a CSV, we've got a schema for that. You can just dump a CSV in and it's going to populate that for you. But this is one that is just really exciting just because of how easy this is, right? And so I'm going to just dump some assets here, and I'm going to dump a couple different types of assets in here, but I'm literally just going to copy and paste these in. And when I do that, it's going to bump those up against the known assets for this environment, right? Notice that it identifies that these are all new assets that don't exist anywhere in PlexTrac for this client. And boom, I've got the option of throwing some tags on if I want. And just like that, I've now added those 5 assets. These assets not only exist inside of my report at the affected asset level for this finding, but they also exist for the at the client level. So why this is really cool is now if I were to go and do that again, and I do this bulk paste, and when I do that, notice that it says this matches existing assets. So it is already associated that this asset has already been created for this client. So we're deduping even here on the bulk paste. So really, really cool feature. This has already been very widely adopted by our testers that are manually adding those affected assets. Nifty stuff. While we're here, let's talk a little bit about some other improvements that we've made to different areas of the findings. So Landon, maybe you can set us up by talking a little bit about what brought us to QA workflow tools.
Well, that's a loaded question, isn't it? That's just kind of funny. So if you look on the right here, and when I think about QA workflow, it's just thinking about what it means to be able to get to a report. There's so much more that goes into it than just getting the base data and then just being able to ship it to your customer, or maybe even if you're on the enterprise, send it to someone for remediation. Maybe you have scaled up, you've got someone who's newer to your organization, they don't quite know how you talk yet, they don't quite know the tone yet, and you just need a technical person or a senior person to come in and review. But you don't just want to review and have them change, you want to teach them. Maybe you want them to be able to have a conversation back and forth because maybe they meant to say it that way. And so what we did is we realized that we just needed to drive more we wanted to have that collaboration within our platform, and we wanted to give you all the tools to do so. And so that spawned a feature that we've called QA workflow that really enables more collaboration within our platform. And when we say that, we mean the ability to track changes so you can see what's changed over time, and then be able to comment and communicate or collaborate with your team members across it. Ever since then, that feature really took off, and we knew we should do even more. And so over the last month or so, we've continued to invest in this collaboration and enabled those avatars that you see on top. So now you see the SS with Sean Scott that shows that Sean is working in this specific text field for description. And the reason why that's important is now you'll know where someone's working, and you can make sure that you're not overriding one another. So we're trying to enable not just collaboration, but effective collaboration.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, there's honestly tons more that we could talk about in our reports module and our findings. You know, if you've been a long time PlexTrac user, if you go back and you take a look at some of those videos, we haven't taken them down off the YouTube just because it's fun. It's nostalgic to see how far we've come. It's just a completely different experience today. And while we're talking about the different experience today, I actually do want to take us all the way back up to the client level. So we have completely revamped the organization of the data that exists inside of the client. So now not only do I have the ability to see my data organized by the reports that I put there, if I go into the findings tab, I now have access to all of the findings that exist in all of the reports. And I've got all the same filters that I would have inside of a report. So I can rapidly find whatever it is that I'm looking for. If I knew that there was a finding on something, but I couldn't remember, in which report it was at, not a big deal. I've got the ability to come in and rapidly find that. I can also rapidly jump to my assets. I can jump to my statistics, which isn't going to be very exciting right now because I haven't moved any of my findings into the published status that gets them considered for statistical analysis. But once again, just quality of life improvements that we're really happy to deliver on. And we continue to look for new opportunities to do so. So if you've got ideas for how we can make the workflow better, once again, purple.ideas.plextrac.com. And or is that .io?
.io.
There we go. Awesome. Okay. So one thing, we don't often talk a lot about the workflows that enterprises use in the remediation. And that's something that we want to spend more time in PlexTrac covering. And so one of the things that has been really loved, especially by our enterprise users this year, is the addition of trends and SLAs, right? And I'm really just going to focus on setting up the trends and SLAs because it's over time that you get your data that's going to populate this. But what I can do is I can create new service level agreements. And what is a service level agreement? It's just simply an internal benchmark, a goal, if you will, for how long do I want to give myself to fix these problems that I found? Out of the box, if you go into the section of PlexTrac, you'll see that we've already got some basic ones here that are really just based upon the severity of the finding, and none of these are enabled by default. If you do enable them, this is going to start the generation of alerts and things like that, but I'm going to just pop into creating a new one to kind of show you the power of how granular you can get with setting your remediation goals or SLAs in your environment. So what I'm going to title this one, criticals and highs on my crown jewels, right? My crown jewel assets. And so I can say, if we find any critical or highs on crown jewel assets, I want those fixed in 2 days, all right? And what are the severities and scope? Critical and high. If I wanted to limit those findings and consideration based upon a particular tag, I could do that as well. So further scoping when I get this data considered for both presentation in the platform, but also for the notifications. This is called on crown jewels, right? So maybe I only want to fire or track these SLAs for things that have an asset criticality of critical. Or maybe I've just tagged those particular assets with something like crown jewel. I can do that as well. So a lot of different levers to throw to tailor what the SLA actually has in scope as far as findings are considered. And so I should probably take a step back. The asset criticality, this means that I'm only going to get findings considered for this SLA if they have affected assets and if one of those assets has a criticality set of critical, right? Well, now we actually get into the setup of the notifications. So I can ask for a daily summary email to let me know things that are nearing or exceeding their SLA, right? And so, well, what do we consider for nearing or exceeding? Well, if I set my reminder for, say 24 hours, that is what actually gets used for the criteria for nearing and exceeding my SLA. If I bust the SLA, I can get an alert for that as well, or notification. I can even select other users to receive these notifications, right? And who can that be? That can be any other user in the environment of PlexTrac, right? We don't let you send this out to your Gmail account just for security purposes, but I can then have those exact same options for an additional user in this environment. So really an amazing tool that's available for you. We actually did a full webinar when we rolled this out. So I'm not going to get into showcasing the data presentation in the interest of time, but that is all available for you. Any additional comments on that, Landon?
The goal here and why we're so excited is this just helps you show how you're improving over time and where you need to spend your investment. And so we really recommend using this to help you see how you can improve your security posture, or how your security posture is being managed, right? With the data that you're pulling in through your different assessments.
And you just mentioned assessment, and I know that you use the term assessment in the generic term, but I'm going to go ahead and pop over to our assessments module. Quite frankly, we've been talking a lot about things that we do and have improved that are really going to have a lot of value for our technical testers. But one of our major initiatives inside of this year has been to enhance the experience of people who are using our assessments module. And so, Landon, while I tee this up, maybe talk about some of the pain points that led us to do some of this work in the assessments module.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're kind of scrolling through it right now. The experience, we learned loud and clear from our customers that the experience was great if you had a smaller assessment, but it just needed some improvement if you had a larger assessment. It was harder to navigate around, and ultimately that when you're doing something as large as like a CMMC, and you all are so experienced at where you need to go, you might need to jump across questions. Because if they answer one a specific way, you know to go to a different section and follow through that chain first. And so as we learned more about that workflow and that use case, we wanted to improve the navigation to allow our assessors to do it the way that they could if they were on a spreadsheet, and do it better than they could on a spreadsheet by having all their data flow into a report through PlexTrac.
And we took that as our North Star. And I think, Landon, that we have added more ways to navigate through anything in any web page I've ever been. So I'm just going to start hitting them. What if I want to go to question 136? I can do it that way. What if I want to just simply work forward by pagination? I can go to page 4. I can find what I'm looking for and bring it up that way. If I want to see less, I want to see more. If I want to do a search just simply based upon keyword of the title, right? I can search for that as well. I don't know what the question number is, but I know that it has to, do with privileged access, right? And I'm hoping there's a privileged access thing in here. Yeah, there is. Great. And boom, now I can see all of those various questions that relate to the keyword search. You may notice that there's some interesting little circles over here, and I want you to keep your eye on them. I'm going to select this one, AC 2.007. It's in a not started state. So I am going to begin adding some data, and you'll notice that my progress indicator changed from not started to in progress. And what you'll also note is that I got a little bit of a shading here inside of my circle. This is my visual cue that this thing is now in progress, right? If I mark this as complete, notice that we get this nice little check mark, right? And we actually have a number of other states as well. And if you are looking for where the secret decoder ring is, there's actually a key symbol up here. And this shows me not just, it shows me things that are required to complete versus is not required to complete. So if I'm looking to find, what are those things that I absolutely have got to get, I'm going to be looking for the incomplete required. Those are the ones that I absolutely know that I have to answer in order to submit this assessment, right? What questions are required and what's are not, that's all up to you when you're modifying or building out your individual assessment. At the end of the day, when I want to find what's left over, we've given you all these great capabilities of jumping all over the place. But that can also lead to gaps in your completion. So I can just simply come in here and say, show me everything that I have not started or that is in progress, right? And so this is just yet another way of finding the specific work that you need to get to in a very rapid fashion. So a huge shout out to the engineering team. This was a heavy lift, but we're so excited to have this in here and available for you. All right, Landon, I think that we've done a good job of covering most of the things that we've delivered that are in platform. So I'm going to stop share, turn my video back on, and I'm actually going to turn the mic over to you for some teasers. We don't want to show people what we've got in design, but maybe just talk to me a little bit about what we've got teed up going into 2023.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first off, thank you for going through and taking us down memory lane for this year. It's just so exciting to see what we've delivered, and it's even more exciting to see the usage that we're getting from it. So thank you all for using the stuff that we're doing and providing the feedback. You know, as you were going through, you might have seen some Easter eggs in terms of where we're headed, and you might have noticed, if you know our platform, 2 runbooks images. What does that mean? Well, that means that maybe we have a new runbooks experience coming soon. And so that is a little bit of a teaser that you might have picked up. We're continuing to invest in our analytics space. So stay tuned as we deliver more to help you see all the beautiful things within the data and help you figure out where the best and biggest battles are for you to go fight from a security perspective and win. Other spaces that you're going to see, more configuration, more simple ways to have the data that just see the data and use the data that you need in an area that in a way that increases data integrity. And those are just some of the things I'm really, really excited about. And there's one that I'm even remiss to share about yet that I think I'll save for a couple months here, but it's really, really close to our mission. It's something that I'm just so excited for our team to be able to share with you all, and it's as big as even a new module. So that one, I think I'll just leave it saying we even got a new module coming our way. Really excited, hearing a lot of customers that want about it. If you're super interested, I'm sure you'll learn more as we start to reach out to more customers.
Outstanding. Well, Landon, thanks so much for joining me. Thank you for your partnership. All the wonderful things that I showed. I'm the guy that gets to play with them, gets to deliver them to customers, get to see the smiles on their faces when we're we're scratching an itch they had. And that's a process. It starts with everyone watching's ideas submitted to us, and allowing us to really prioritize and understand what's going to bring the most value, because at the end of the day, we're investing your resources to make the product better for you.
Yeah, thank you, Sean, and just want to reiterate how grateful we are for our customers. Thank you for being here. Thank you for providing our feedback. Thank you for using our product, and thank you for letting us help you do what you do. We love being able to support you all. We love being able to work with you all. So I look forward to next year and continuing to build those partnerships.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
All right, take care.